What's up, sports bettors? Alex here, and we are going to be going through the best player prop bets for tonight. So, again, the OddsJam website essentially is constantly scanning millions of odds across sportsbooks, MLB, tennis, everything for you to try to show you where is the value in the odds. So, for example, we can see Marcus Semien under 1.5 bases is minus 130 odds on DraftKings, right? The sharpest bookmaker, Pinnacle, they're pricing this all the way down at minus 164. So we're getting 34 cents of improvement from the sharpest bookmaker out there. So real-time betting odds from Pinnacle are very accurate and very indicative of the true win probability for a bet. So we always want to look at their lines and make sure we're finding value to Pinnacle, right? So if we remove the juice from Pinnacle's market, they have the over plus 122, the under minus 164. If you remove the vig, remove the juice, we can see that the true line, the true odds, which is called the no vig odds, is minus 138, right? And we're getting 8 cents of improvement from the true odds. So we're getting minus 130 on DraftKings. So this is a profitable bet based on real-time betting data with a profit margin of 2.56%. Now, on top of that, you can use the free OddsJam app, which looks at historical trends. So there's a link to this app in the description, in the comments, and this is kind of how it works. For example, for Marcus Semien, we can see this season, throughout 82 games, the under has cashed under 1.5 total bases 61% of the time, right? So if you bet Semien under 1.5 bases, you would have won 61% of your bets, which implies a true price based on historical data of minus 156. So again, I'm a big believer in real-time market data from Pinnacle, right, from the sharpest sportsbooks, because real-time odds from the sharpest sportsbook encompass all the action currently going on in the betting market, right? The game tonight of Rangers versus Athletics doesn't necessarily mean historical trends are going to apply, right? The Rangers or A's, right? They could have their best pitcher on the mound, so maybe Semien is less likely, or more likely to have under 1.5 player bases, or if they have a terrible pitcher on the mound, then maybe Semien over 1.5 bases is more likely, right? So that's all encompassed in real-time betting odds. Whereas historical trends, that's not encompassed, right? But we can still look at this information. It's still valuable, just obviously less valuable than real-time betting odds data. But long story short, if I look at Semien, throughout the course of the season, 50 out of 82 games, his under 1.5 bases has cashed, which is an implied price of minus 156, right? So if we put in minus 156, you can see 61% win probability. So what that essentially means is if you bet every single game out of all 82 of these games, if you bet Semien under 1.5 bases at minus 156 odds, you would have broken even. If you bet Semien under 1.5, bases at minus 130 odds every game this season, you would have made money so far. If you bet at minus 190, you would have lost money, right? So this is just looking at historical trends. What is the implied price? So we can see for Semien, the implied price for under 1.5 bases based on historical data for the season is minus 156. So this bet does look good to the historical data, right? Minus 156, we're getting minus 130, and it looks great to real-time betting odds data from Pinnacle, the sharpest bookmaker, whose true odds, once you remove the juice or vig, is going to be minus 138. So that's 2 reasons to like this bet. And again, if you want to, you can look at last 10 games. So it actually looks like in the last 10 games, Semien has gone over, 1.5 bases 6 out of 10 times. So the under has only cashed 4 out of 10 games. So he's been playing better recently, right? If you look at last 25, the implied odds is minus 127, right? So this bet looks a little bad based on historical data. So, what this makes you kind of assume is Semien had a rougher start, to the season, but now in the last 5 games, he's been getting a lot of hits, clearly. He's getting on base, right? So you can kind of, split this. You can look at the over, under, based on if his team won or lost, were they home, away. You can look at all sorts of different things because obviously in the MLB, if a team is at home, and they have, a field where it's a lot harder to hit home runs, that's relevant to you. So maybe for some, props you want to look at, you do care if they're playing at home or away, right? So you can kind of use this tool and slice data as many ways as you'd like to try to look for value and compare that to the OddsJam positive EV page, which shows you mathematically profitable sharp bets based on real-time odds data from the sharpest bookmaker out there, Pinnacle. So we can go ahead and lock it in, right? It's a positive EV play with a profit margin of 2.56%. So I'll go ahead, I'll lock this in. So it's under batter props, and then we want Semien under 1.5 bases, minus 130, and we can go ahead and throw $100 on this. So boom, we have Semien under 1.5 bases, right? My goal as a sports bettor is place as many positive EV, sharp, profitable bets as I can on a daily basis, essentially forming my own portfolio of profitable bets. So the next bet we can look into is Kevin Newman under 1.5 bases. So the sharpest sportsbook is pricing this all the way down at minus 216, and we're getting minus 164. Granted, there's a lot of juice baked into this market. Market width is higher, but it's currently the highest profit margin bet on OddsJam. And then we can use the OddsJam props app to kind of, take a look at this player as well. So we can go to Newman. You can look at any props you want to, but we'll go to total bases and we'll go to the under. So it looks like he's played 17 games this season, and 10 out of 17 games, the under has cashed, right? So for Marlins Pirates, Kevin Newman under 1.5 bases has cashed at minus 142 odds, right? And we're getting minus 164 odds on Caesars. So maybe this is a prop you can skip if you do care about historical data and you do like looking into these trends, right? So, I'll skip this bet, higher market width. There's a few reasons maybe you don't want to dabble in it. Maybe it's looking at historical trends. Maybe it's because the market width is a little higher. So, that means the sports books are less confident in their markets. So we'll skip over that one. I'll actually delete it from my sheet. So we're not going to bet this. But then the final bet we can look at is Cal Quantrill over 16.5 outs. Might as well look at that. So we can go to Quantrill, and then we can go to player outs and just see how has this bet performed over the course of the season. So he's pitched in 15 games. The over 16.5 outs has cashed 10 out of 15 games, which implies a price of minus 200, right? If you bet Cal Quantrill over 16.5 outs every game this season, all 15 games at minus 200 odds, you would have broken even. If you bet it at minus 150, you would have made money. If you would have bet it at minus 250, you would have lost money, right? So minus 200, even though the EV is a little smaller on this one, Pinnacle, the sharpest bookmaker, they're pricing this all the way up at minus 182. So we're getting some value. So maybe that's another MLB bet we want to lock in, and I'll go ahead and lock it in. So trying to use data, right, as a sports bettor to find value, real-time market data, and now with the free OddsJam app, you can also use historical market data, right? How has this pitcher performed over the course of the season? Now, again, I will say historical data, right, real-time market data is a lot more important. And the reason for that is every game is different, right? Maybe Cal Quantrill hurt his shoulder last game, or maybe, the White Sox have a really good lineup and Cal hasn't really faced a good lineup yet. So that needs to be encompassed in the odds, and real-time betting market data from the sharpest sportsbook will encompass that information, but historical trends won't, right? So those are just things to consider as well. So when you're looking at historical data, how is this game different than what happened in the past? So we can go ahead and lock it in though. Cal Quantrill, so we can go down to Cal, and we can bet him, did this move on us? We can take a look. No, minus 145, that's correct. So the sharpest bookmaker is pricing this at minus 182. So we can go ahead and lock this bet in as well for $100. So two prop bets. We have Cal. So the second bet we have is Cal Quantrill over 16.5 outs for the rookie, I believe. And the profit margin on this bet is 1.83%. So 1.83%. And this bet has cashed 10 out of 15 games in the season according to the free OddsJam app. Again, there's a link below, and there's mathematical value to the sharpest bookmaker in the world. So two bets I locked in. I skipped this first one, which had higher market width and also didn't look great to historicals, but it does have the higher EV, so maybe you do want to play it. A lot of different considerations can go into a bet, and by no means am I saying I perfectly understand the exact criteria you should have for placing a bet, But obviously, I'm a big believer that data, real-time market data, is critical as you're looking for great lines, as you're looking for value. So let me know if you like these two player props. We have a batter prop in the Rangers-A's game. We have a pitcher prop in Guardians-White Sox. And let's make some money.